Hello and welcome to Expanding Your Horizons Meet a Scientist series. This is where you get to sit down with a real scientist and ask the questions you've submitted either on our website or at our webinar last spring. My name is Jenna, and I would like to introduce our special guest, Dr. Nicole Wiles. She earned her bachelor's in physics and mathematics at Coe College, and then her PhD in material science at Cornell University. She's now a scientist at Corning Inc. Nicole, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Corning?
Yeah, I am Nicole. I am a glass scientist at Corning. That's my official title. I study glass and how to turn glass, different types of glass, into products that you can use every day. So some of you may know about the glass that's on your phone or on your TV. There's also fiber optic cable that carries the signal of the internet under the ocean or long distances in the United States to bring you your information. There's lots of other applications for glass that maybe you didn't know about, like Pyrex glass that you might find in your kitchen that's specially engineered to do well in your kitchen and cook your food well. And there's new Corning vials that help transport the coronavirus vaccine to different places around the country where they get administered. So there are a lot of different glass products that Corning works on or has worked on in the past. And I am fortunate enough to have a small part in those.
That's cool. I mean, we use Corning products every day in our labs here, so I know Corning is like a superstar. So what got you excited about STEM, and how did you know you wanted to pursue this field? And did you have any role models?
Yeah, so I had no idea that I wanted to do science or math or anything in elementary school. But in middle school, I had a science teacher named Mr. Russell, and he was awesome. And we did the coolest science in his class. And I got really excited about science because he was so excited about science. And when I finished middle school and went to high school, I had 3 different teachers, one chemistry teacher, one physics teacher, and one biology teacher that all made me really excited about STEM. And when I started looking at colleges, I realized that my favorite subjects in school were chemistry and physics. So I decided that I wanted to see if I could do chemistry and physics in college.
Cool. Were there any challenges you faced?
I think it's kind of hard to narrow down what it is that you like. I mean, I made it sound really easy just there, but sometimes it's not always easy to know, like, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life or something like that? And I guess my response to that would be whatever you choose now doesn't have to be forever. And, I said that I wanted to do chemistry out of high school, and I don't have a degree in chemistry because I changed my mind, and that's fine. But for me, it was kind of hard. Like, I was like, well, I was going to do chemistry. I don't want to give it up. And I did, and I'm totally happy with it. I'm totally happy that I switched to math instead. Yeah, don't put pressure on yourself to do what you thought you were going to do, in 10th grade or whatever, because whatever you think you want to do now is probably more awesome.
Yeah, especially because most of our listeners and viewers are probably younger, so don't pigeonhole yourself into something. You have plenty of time to make a decision, and you can even change your mind when you're a little bit older too.
Yeah,
No pressure.
I know people older than me that have changed careers, and they're really happy about it.
So speaking of careers, can you tell me about your career at Corning and like what you do on a daily basis? what kinds of things inspire your work? What kinds, we already sort of talked about what kinds of products you made, but are there any really cool products that you're like a huge fan of maybe?
Well, I work in a department called glass development. And development means that we take products from an idea and an initial research material and we scale it up into a manufacturing process. So we work with researchers to get kind of an initial material that might be useful in a product. And we see how we can take the lab scale, maybe something where you only make a couple of pounds of material, and now scale it up into how do we make a few tons of material. There's a lot of challenges with taking something from really small to really big. And it's actually really exciting because we get to work with researchers, we get to work with engineers and manufacturers and decide the best process for scaling up a particular product. So every product at Corning has gone through a development group. It may not be my department, but they scale a product up from an idea into mass production. And I think that's really cool. And I love my job because in a few years from now, I'll be able to say, wow, that thing that's out on the market that I could buy or that you could buy, I had a hand in that. And that is super exciting to me.
Cool. And you mentioned Corning does have a little bit of a role in aiding in the coronavirus efforts. What's it like to be a part of that since you've spoken to,
Yeah,
that
so
feeling?
I'm really proud to be part of a company that is helping fight the coronavirus. So Corning makes glass vials that are little tiny jars that the vaccine liquid sits inside while it's transported to your hospital or your doctor's office. And then from there, it's taken from the vial into a syringe that can be administered to you. So it's kind of like the container that takes the vaccine from where it was made to you.
That's really cool. Sort of a different question. Do you think it's hard to be a woman in STEM? And have you ever felt alone as like a girl in the STEM fields? And to follow up with, have you ever been treated poorly by your coworkers? Because this is kind of a field dominated by men sometimes.
Yeah, so I've definitely been around a lot of more men than women in my time, but that doesn't mean that I've had any negative experiences. I've had a lot of mentors that have really inspired me and really guided me and helped me along. And I'm really thankful for that. And they never considered me being a woman as something that would be a negative attribute of myself. And so I'm really happy that I had so many good mentors. But yes, there were a lot of guys in my department and a lot of guys in my research group, and I'm okay with that. And they always treated me totally as part of the group. So it was great.
Do you think that's changing at all? Do you think more women and girls are getting into STEM?
Definitely. I think there's more and more girls joining all fields of STEM every year, and we just need to keep doing it and keep encouraging each other to keep pursuing STEM. And the more that we keep doing that, the more women there will be. It won't ever feel like you're outnumbered.
Yeah, we got to nurture each other in this field, especially because it's a hard field. So, just in general, we got to help each other out.
Totally.
Do you think it's absolutely necessary to have a graduate degree or to go to graduate school to pursue a career in STEM?
Definitely not. So I have a bachelor's and a PhD, and I have a job that I love, but that doesn't mean that everybody who wants to pursue a STEM career needs a graduate degree. I have a lot of people that work with me in my department that have maybe a bachelor's degree in biology or an associate's degree in computer programming. And those fields are totally STEM, and they do STEM jobs, and they get to use really cool state-of-the-art equipment. They get to deal with all of these really new, fancy, awesome materials. And having a graduate degree does not mean that you're any less STEM or that you're any less capable of contributing to the scientific knowledge of the world.
So this question sort of ties in with that. Regardless of whatever degree you have, when did you first think of yourself as a real scientist? Was it like an aha moment, or was it this gradual feeling? Because a lot of people attributed like, oh, you got the degrees, you're a scientist.
I think it's been just a gradual thing, but there's been moments where I feel like I've taken a step up. For example, when I got accepted into college and my majors were going to be physics and math, that really felt like I made it. And then when I actually graduated with my bachelor's, then I was like, oh man, I'm really a physicist, or I'm really a mathematician now. And then the same thing happened when I went to grad school. And then when I graduated, I was like, wow, I really am a material scientist now. And when I got my job, I was like, wow, now my job title really says glass scientist. That's so cool.
That's definitely a good feeling to have the word next to your name. So do you have any advice for our younger scientists out there? Because you're doing any sort of science work, you're a scientist. So to our middle schoolers and high schoolers, is there anything you could say to them that you wish you had known when you were that age?
It's okay to not like things, but you should still do them, because maybe there's something really awesome on the other side. So I'll give you an example. I hated, maybe I shouldn't use that word, but I really did not like Algebra 2. It was the worst. I really did not like that class. I liked nothing about the math in Algebra 2. But then I got to do calculus later on, a few years later, and I used principles that I learned in Algebra 2 in calculus, and I really liked calculus. Calculus was awesome. And if I hadn't taken Algebra 2 and pushed through it and tried really hard, then I would not have been able to take calculus and really enjoy it. So maybe you're required to take a biology class right now, and biology just isn't your thing. But something that you learned in biology class could be useful for chemistry, and then you end up finding that you really like chemistry. So just consider your subjects with an open mind, and you don't have to like them, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try and that you shouldn't learn the material, because it might be useful for something that you do care about.
I will say that I agree with that 100%, because in high school, I did not like chemistry at all. But then when I got to undergrad, I loved chemistry. I don't know if it was just because I had really great professors, but I was just like, man, this is like a complete 180. Definitely keep your eyes open, because you might not like it now. And then a few years down the road, you might be like, whoa, actually, this is really cool.
Yeah, totally.
So for our last question, it's our silly question of the evening. What's the goofiest thing you've ever done in the name of science?
Well, in my undergrad, I did research on glass. Might be surprising to you, but that's how my glass journey started. And we had to melt glasses for very specific amounts of time. And I was on a deadline to melt a few different glasses and then study them. And I put some glass in the melter at I don't know what time, but it was pretty late in the evening, maybe like 8 or 9. And then I realized that that glass had to be out in the furnace for like 6 hours. So I was like, oh no, I've already put it in there, but I'm going to have to wait until like 2 in the morning to take it out. So I did. And that was totally my fault, but it was totally crazy to stay up so late.
I'm sure there's many people who can relate, at least in graduate school, who have pulled unfortunate nearly all-nighters in the name of science.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Nicole, for taking the time to answer our questions. I really liked learning what you do as a glass scientist at Corning. I thought it was really cool, especially because we use Corning products everywhere and every day. And I thought your advice to our younger viewers was great, to keep your eyes open. Even if you don't like something now, you might like it later on in life. It's good advice outside of science as well. So if you would like to know more about EYH, you can go to our website at eyh.cornell.edu. You can submit questions there, and you can see our past programmings as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find the link to our website in the description. Please subscribe so you can see our new content in the future. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.